G'day fellas and welcome to a Japanese build order. This is an advanced builder for the new civilization in the Sultan's Ascend expansion pack for Age of Empires 4. Today we're going to be going through a build order and accompanying me will be a spreadsheet, as all good build orders require. Now if you'd like to get your hands on this, feel free to dive into the description and that's where it'll be. But other than that, we'll move it over onto the second monitor and you won't have to worry about it. So let's get to it. So starting off, we're going to take all of our villages, we're going to put them on sheep, and we're going to queue 4 villages in our town center. We're going to move the sheep as well if we've got the APM for it, and we're going to move our scout out. And that's it, we're done for the first 20 seconds. After that, we're going to make sure that we rally a villager out to gold. We're just doing a single villager out to gold. Now, the goal of this build order, this is an advanced build order, this is a 2 TC build order that plays exactly like the French does. If anybody remembers the good old days of the French, well, they're still around. You just don't see them as much anymore. They go for a night, and then they go into 2 TCs. It's the exact same MO here, so that's what we're going to be seeing. So with the scout heading out to the middle of the map, and then back at home with the villager, we're just going to be making a farmhouse and then a forge, and making sure that we do it away from our town center. You can see the AoE there of the town center. We want to try and keep that clear for farms. And then looking to put another forge down over on our stone outcropping. We're going to be rallying 3 villagers in the early game over to stone. And this is kind of wild because we're taking advantage of the extra 20% that the Japanese get for each of these 2 resources. So really looking to leverage their strong bonuses early on. For every 10 gold, or for every 10 gold you get 2 stone, and for every 10 stone you get 2 gold. So we're looking to try and take advantage of this. So we'll be rallying a 3rd villager out now over onto stone. And then once we've done that, we'll be rallying a villager over to sheep. Now this build order is based off a build order that Kanoki has pioneered. So a huge shout out to him for this one. If you're not familiar with his work, he has done many great theory crafting build orders here in Age of Empires 4, and this is another one he'll get to add to his list. We've gone and tweaked it a little bit, and I will also say that this is an open build order. This is a flexible build order, so I'm just giving you the basics to start out, and then from there you can look to do whatever it is that you want to do with your build order afterwards, whatever it is with your game plan, whether you want to go into Castle Age, whether you want to mass up some armies, or whether you want to go into 3 TCs, which is definitely a reasonable route. With this next villager though, we're going to be taking it out over onto gold. So we're sending 1 villager out to gold, and then we're going to be sending our villagers to our straggler tree. So we've started off 6 vills to food, 1 vill to gold, 3 vills to stone, 1 vill back to food, then 1 vill to gold. There's a reason why I said this build order was advanced. It's not as simple as the good old days when, as we talked about the French before, you just do 8 to food, 4 to gold, and then 3 to wood. They were the good old days, but these civilizations are a little bit more complex with their mechanics. So now that we've got our 2 villagers rallying out to wood, we want to make sure that we've always got another villager in queue behind this, because we don't want to go idle. You can see, even though we're really close to being able to age up here, we want to make sure that we have got this villager in queue. Put it in the queue, Drongo. Where is it? Oh my god, look at this guy. Can you believe this guy? Even me at Conqueror 3 still makes this mistake, and that's 7 seconds of idle time there, so watch out, guys. Even it still happens, but hey, it's a pretty complicated civ. Anyway, 3 villagers from food. Going to be going over onto our storehouse there. Make sure that with regard to that idle TC time, you learn from my mistakes. You know, do as I say, not as I do. I'm going to do a quick pause here as well. So, we've talked about everything before the age up. Now the age ups happened. So, we had those 2 villagers out to stragglers, and we hopefully queued another villager in the town center. And then we're going to drop down our Kura storehouse, and we're going to put it down at the back of our town center like this, where we've got a little bit of space. Now you can see that it's blocking at the moment with the Kura storehouse is having 1 farm blocked by the forge, but that's okay because we can always delete this forge. It's not a big deal because the stone's going to be pretty quickly gathered for this civilization. The other option that you've got is to put your Kura storehouse down over on a wood line. This is something that Kanoki likes to do. Me personally, I'm not a fan just because it does compromise base building quite a bit. And if you do spawn in a game like this with a forward wood line, there's a good chance that your enemy is going to be able to come in, put some pressure on you, and it's going to restrict the amount of food that you can have coming in, because we really want to try and take advantage of these farms as much as we possibly can. So once we've got those 3 villages now over onto our landmark and we've started building it up, we're going to make sure that we continue queuing up villagers, keep rallying them out to wood, and we're going to take 1 villager off stone and send it over to gold. At the same time, we're going to be making sure that we are spamming our clicking on Tawara. We want to try and get this upgrade. This is the unique wheelbarrow upgrade that the Japanese have got access to. It's got 3 different levels, so we want to try and get this one in as soon as possible. So hopefully I click it any second now. Come on, Drongo. There we go. So now I'm going to click that one in, and after that one has come in, that's a pretty quick one to research. So what we're going to be then doing is just continuing to rally up to wood. We want to go up to 5 villages on wood. And then from there, we're going to be sending our town center back over to sheep. And then from there, we'll be looking to get another upgrade. That's right. In the Dark Age, we'll be looking to get a second upgrade. And that's going to be the Tatara upgrade. It's really important, and you can see we get it immediately here. It's really important that we get that upgrade because we're actually going to be getting the second melee upgrade quite early on as well in this game. So now that we're going to be rallying 2 villages to sheep here, this is where this build order, I mean, we've already gotten pretty advanced, right? Like, it's a lot more advanced than your standard simple build order, and I will be doing a simple Japanese build order as well. This part is about to get a little bit confusing because no other civilization has got the following mechanic that's about to occur. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having an idle TC, but it's not what you think. Let me explain. We're about to upgrade this town center to a daimyo manor. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. When you do that, it's going to take you 20 seconds. And during that time frame, you don't need any population. However, it does provide a free villager once it's done. Now, the way that it works is that it queues that villager after the daimyo manor is complete. So essentially, you've got this period of time where you can sit at 20 out of 20 population, and you're technically housed, but you don't actually lose anything from it. Let's watch and see. So, we now have enough resources in the bank to drop our stable down. We're going to be looking to do that. We've reached population capacity, and we're going to queue up that daimyo manor. We've rallied out 2 villages onto food, so we've got a total of 6 there now. And now what we're going to be doing is making sure we queue another villager behind it because it's going to, it's essentially buffering, and our age up is about to come through. And as soon as the age up comes through, this is where we're going to pause it. We're going to be dropping down our stable. So we want to make sure that we have our wood villagers on a control group, and we're going to be dropping down a stable immediately. We want to get this bad boy down. And you can see right here, we're making sure that we leave a space for our farms, and we're immediately throwing it down. At the same time, once we are 100% sure that we've got the resources for our stable, we'll add in a farmhouse as well. We want to try and get this down pretty quickly. You can see that even at this point, when we've got the daimyo manor in queue, I've still got another 5 seconds before I need to drop this down. So it's one of those things where you've got a little bit of flexibility in it, in the timing of this, but the reason why that we are allowing ourselves to do this is just to make sure we can drop down the stable without having any issues. So we add in that farmhouse. And now, with that, we're going to be looking to get out our unique unit. This is going to be our Bannerman that's coming out. Now, we wouldn't be able to train this Bannerman if we didn't have access to the daimyo manor. The daimyo manor increases the amount of Bannerman that you can have. So we're going to be going for an Uma Bannerman right here. And you can see it costs 140 food, 110 gold. And it trains pretty quickly. 15 seconds for this bad boy. Or bad girl. You know what? So many units I refer to as bad boy, and you should. I get so many comments that are like, "It's a girl. How dare you call the Onabagesha a boy?" It's a bad boy. Look, it's a gender neutral term like guys. All right, chill out. Anyway, okay. So now that we've aged up, now that we've thrown our stable down, and we're about to put our Uma Bannerman in queue, we're going to be working towards our second town center. So we're going to be moving a lot of villages around. So one of the things I'm going to be doing is rallying my town center out to stone. I want to make sure that the 2 villages that are going to be spawning at the same time rally out to stone. And when I do that, I'm also going to be sending out villagers from food out there. I want to send 3 villagers out there. So you're going to see right now we're going to pop out. There we go. There's our 2 villagers, and we're going to rally 3 more villagers out there as well. And of course, our stable builders have just gone back to gathering wood. We just want to gather enough wood that we can go out and drop a lumber camp down here, because we are going to need a lumber camp here to get this second town center. Now, another thing, just a small note, when you go for the Kura storehouse, whenever you have a farm free, put a villager on it. I was a little bit late here with this one, so just make sure you don't make that same mistake. Try and get your farms or your villagers onto these farms as soon as you can. Really, really important. Okay, so we're going to continue going forward, and now that we've got our expansion coming out here, we're also going to be looking to transfer villagers from our sheep out over onto wood. And the other thing that we're going to be keeping note of is our second melee upgrade, Hizukuri. There we go. So once we've got enough resources for that, and you can see it's 100 gold for it, we're going to be clicking this. And this is a really important upgrade for us to get. And I'll explain why. So now that the upgrades come through, we're going to move these villagers across down over onto stone. And I think we've already sent these 2 villagers from food over to wood. So the sheep vills have gone over to wood. Now, just to quickly talk why this upgrade's really important and we want to get this ASAP. So if we take a look at the damage that your Uma Bannerman does, it does 20 damage at the moment, and it does 29 damage with its Naginata. That's its charge. And I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this. That means if you charge somebody, a villager, you do 29 damage, and then the katana, that's 49 damage. There's a problem. A villager's got 50 health. So that's why we look to get this upgrade. It's going to take a while to come in, and the first villager that you strike is not going to die from 2 strikes, but the second villager, that will. So keep that in mind. So we're going to be looking to harass, and we want to keep these guys together, our scout and our bannerman. We want to make sure that we find any villagers that we possibly can and look to put on pressure. And then at the same time behind this, we're just making sure that we've rallied our TC out here, and we're going to continue transferring villagers over onto food. And now behind this, you can see that there's a whole bunch of villagers that are on berries here, and these are they're the Order of the Dragon villagers, so they're a bit tankier than your standard villager, and you can see that it's a pretty decent reaction time there from our opponent. Now, another thing to note that you might be looking at and saying, well, Drunker, you've got a whole bunch of stone here in the bank, and you've barely got any wood. I mean, you're sitting at halfway, maybe, for that. You can see we're doing well back over here. That's a second villager kill. Thank you very much. And the reason why is because we're going to be looking to upgrade our second town center to a daimyo manor. This is really important for us to do, and it's the only civilization that has access to this kind of early technology that allows you to buff up town centers so that they're not going to die to enemy attacks. If the enemy tries to push in and strike your second town center, remember that it has a lot less health than a standard town center. If we compare the two right now, the base health on this town center is 7,000. The base health on a secondary town center is 2,500. And remember that second TCs just got nerfed as well. So they can hold less people, or not they can hold less people, they do hold less people. And on top of that, their range is a lot lower. So we want to do everything that we can to disincentivize aggression towards us. And that means going for the second town center and looking to upgrade it immediately. It's going to cost us 300 stone just to get that upgrade, but it gives us a nice bump up when it comes to the health. Now, normally over here with our Bannerman, we'd be absolutely fine up against a couple of horsemen. The problem is these guys ain't no ordinary horsemen. As you can see, we're up against the Order of the Dragon. These are gilded horsemen, so we do get chased away. But hey, we killed 2 villagers, so I'm pretty happy with how that's gone. And this is the point in the game right here. So if I'm just going to bring it back up. Hold on, give me a sec. I'll get my spreadsheet up here. Gosh, I'm scrolling all over the place here. Here's my spreadsheet. So you can see that this is where the build order ends. Okay, we're at 28 out of 30 at 655, and you can see that we're 715 right now. So we're just a slight bit after that. And this is where it comes down to you to choose how you want to play. Whether you want to go into a fast castle. Maybe you're playing up against the Juicy's Legacy. Maybe they're playing, Song Dynasty 2TC. Maybe you're playing up against Joan, and she's going for second TCs as well. You want to play passive? That's fine. Go for it. But for me in this matchup, I was doing quite a bit of scouting against my opponent because I've got my stable. So after I've lost my scout, I can then build a new scout, which is really, really helpful. And I noticed that he's building up quite a big army. And I said, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to make sure that I've got enough units to defend myself, because at the end of the day, my win condition is to be able to survive. That's number 1. And then number 2 is to outscale my opponent. That means I have more town centers than my opponent. That means that I have more villagers than my opponent. And I can assure you that's exactly what happened this game. Now, keep in mind the opponent that I'm up against, he's a conqueror player. He's a decent player. He knows what he's doing. He's obviously taken out a few villagers here. He's having a good time. And we're going to have to react with a couple of spearmen here. But from here, the general game plan is that we want to have siloed economies. So each one of our town centers, we actually want to upgrade them. We want to get this daimyo manor and push that up, ideally to level 2. And what we want to do is just keep 1,200 stone in the bank, just in case we need to go to level 3. You can eventually just throw it down if you're feeling comfortable with it. But I actually go into 3 TCs. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit here just to show you exactly what I see from my perspective, because we've got our Bannerman that's going to go out for another raid. And you can see that we've run out right now of stone. And this is going to mean that we need to find a secondary stone source. So this is where going for that 3rd TC is actually a really smart move, because it means that you can look to secure up a large stone. And stone is going to be so valuable for you as the Japanese. I think it's going to be probably one of the most important resources, because not only does it give you gold, but it also allows you to boost up those daimyo manors. So let's continue speeding it up a little bit here. Villagers now going to be migrating up towards this northern large stone. You could have obviously come out here or gone up to this one, but we're playing it safe here. Make sure that we take this one at the back, but we're definitely a little bit open at the moment until we get this town center up. But a little bit of a raid back here. And at the same time, we're just slowly and steadily getting our farms in. As I mentioned before as well, with a forge, it does block placement. But we can just delete this forge, right? This forge is not doing anything. It's obviously nice to have it at the moment, but we've already got one here. We've got a second one that's on this side. So we're not at all running short on blacksmiths in this empire whatsoever. But now that third TC is going to come up. Let's just quickly check in with our opponent and see where they're at. They're just 1 TC. They've got the Ark and Chapel. You can see they've got a couple of horsemen over here. And they're starting to build up Gilded Archers. We're 11 minutes through, so we're pretty far through this game at the moment. And for them to be building up like that, it's definitely something that is a little bit scary for me. So I want to make sure that we're able to defend that. So I spend quite a bit of time in feudal age here. We'll speed it up and show you. We're going to continue adding in our farms around the Kura storehouse here, balancing our economy around that, and just making sure that we've got a really steady flow of wood coming in so that we can replace our farms, because we are going to be looking to transition our farming economy. So you can see we've got the Daimyo Manor on this north side as well. So that's all 3 of these town centers now upgraded. Now, when it comes to upgrading the town centers, my initial thought was, well, hold on for a second. I've got a Daimyo Manor here that's at level 1. I've got one that's level 1 here, and I've got one that's level 1 here. And I'm not getting that full 50% bonus, because I want to be getting that full harvest rate 50% bonus. And I hear you 100%. But at the end of the day, the win condition isn't that I've got super good farms. The win condition is that my town centers survive. And that's really important for me. So now what do? We look to try and make sure that this town center is going to survive longer. And now because we've got the ability to get that second level Daimyo Manor out here, what that means is that we can then throw farms down here, because you're going to have that faster gathering farm rate, 50%, a pretty decent amount here. And we'll be looking to do the same thing on the town centers back home. But I just want to make sure that this town center is going to be fine, that it's going to be safe. And now we start to build up a pretty decent mass here, but it's important to remember these Yumi Ashigaru are weak compared to the normal archer, let alone the Gilded Archer. So I wouldn't say I'm making a mistake here, but it's definitely something that I don't need to be doing. You don't need to be pushing out here when you've got 3 town centers just pumping out units. So we're going to speed it up here, and we'll continue watching as the Empire builds. We're going to be looking at adding in more and more farms, and that stone just continues to grow at this point. And we're just going to, as I said, add in more farms, and production is the other big thing. With the Japanese, I noticed that you have got an incredible economy. You're just able to pump out units non-stop. I feel like I'm always floating resources. You can see down here, it's not looking pretty, right? I'm sitting on like 2,000 resources. It's not the best. And that's largely because of how good this economy is. You can see we're up to the Daimyo Palace now. And so that's going to be our level 2 that's reached. And we're buffing up most of these farms, making sure that any of the new farms that we add in are going to be buffed up as well. We want to make sure that we don't extend too far. You can see that I've built it in a very specific way here to make sure that all of these farms will be covered. So we've got the farms that run a basic ring around, and then you've got a separate one that comes out like that. So I figured that should work pretty well. Looks good. I'm happy with it. And the farm numbers continue to rise. We're up to 34 farms at this point. So farming economy is going really well. And I think that this is a civilization that you can stay feudal in for quite a long time. And that's mainly because of the samurai. The samurai is incredible when it comes to staying in the feudal age. Just because of its trading power. Really, really strong when it comes to taking trades. If your enemy's trying to push in, you're very easily able to chase them away and take a lot less damage than, say, a man-at-arms would. So now that we've got the age up coming through, of course, going for the floating gate, definitely the best landmark at the moment. Definitely an S tier landmark. Our enemy's looking for a little bit of a push here, but I mean, at this point in the game, if we go into caster mode, you'll be able to see just how big the difference is. We're at 100 villagers, our opponent's at 41. Now, granted, they're Holy Roman Empire, or rather Order of the Dragon villagers, so they're a little bit stronger, and he's got 1 relic with 2 relics in the bag, but the reality is we're very, very far ahead when it comes to the economy. You can take a look at the resources per minute here. We're sitting at about 3.5k compared to our opponent, who's sitting at about 1,700. So we're more than double his income at the moment. And we're feeling very safe. We're feeling really good. And I think this strategy plays into the strengths of the Japanese, right? If we were to consider, you know, what are the strengths, what are the bonuses of this civilization? Let's just quickly jump into the tech tree. So number 1 is obviously daimyo, which means that we've got stronger town centers, right? So we want to be looking to buff up those town centers. That's the first one. The second one is farm. So we want to be having more villagers that work on farms, because the more villagers that work on farms, then the more villagers are taking advantage of that bonus. So there you go. And then on top of that, we've also got the Samurai Bannerman, so looking to take advantage of that. Then we've got the Hatamoto Samurai, which provides the extra bonus damage. So it's a small little thing. What else have we got in here? The farmhouse and the forge. Not really taking advantage of it, but I mean, it's actually, no, you know what? I reckon you probably are, because we do get the extra melee damage technologies, don't we? So that's another thing to note. And then we're taking advantage of the silver mining, so making sure that we're always gathering lots of stone, because that helps out with our gold and vice versa. And then from there, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So, you know, when I'm building a strategy, right, or theory crafting, I'm looking at what's this civilization good at? If you take a look at the English as an example, it's a great defensive civ, just the same way that the Japanese are, right? Like I've got extra attack speed here. I've got early men-at-arms. I've got town centers that fire an extra arrow. I've got farms that are cheaper so I can stay in my base for longer. I've got faster gathering farms. My unique longbows, which I get a landmark for. Where is she? Right here, the council hall. Have extra range, so they're stronger at defending. My villagers have got bows. I'm not sure where it's mentioned in here, but it's definitely a fact. I can tell you that much. Did we mention the attack speed? I'm not sure if we did. But the point is, we want to build a strategy around the bonuses of the civilization, what the civilization is strong at. And that's why when we look at the Japanese, initially for me, it was a bit of a hard cookie to crack. I'm thinking, do we go for a fast castle here? But there's nothing that really motivates me to go for a fast castle. I mean, there's the floating gate, which has got the Yoroshiros, and they're wonderful. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's a couple of relics that are trickling in. It's nothing to write home about. It's definitely good for the late game, and the sooner you get it, the better. But at the same time, that's not really our strength. Our strength, to me, objectively, is the feudal age. It's looking to get control of those farms, to make sure that we don't die, to even go into 3 TCs, 4 TCs, whatever it is. And ideally, we want to try and spread these TCs out. The further we can spread them out, I think that's going to be the better for us, because it means that we've got more opportunities to flank them with our samurai. Samurai are very good for flanking and forcing your opponent into a battle that they don't want to take. The other thing is that you can upgrade your town centers at very short notice. 20 seconds is all it takes to take your shogunate or your daimyo palace to a shogunate castle. That's going to give you an extra 3k health. That means going from 5.5k to 8.5k. And it gives you the rocket emplacement. And all of a sudden, it just shuts down your attack. And if we think about it from the perspective of the enemy, right? Let's say that they build a ram, and the ram costs 250 wood. Maybe they built 3 of them. That's 750 wood. On top of that, they've then got to research the technology for it. So let's go to our blacksmith. Never mind, we don't have a blacksmith as the Japanese. We have a forge. So 750, add an extra 175 to it. So you're talking just shy of 1,000 resources, or pretty close to 1,000 resources, which is a lot. And then you're counteracting that just with a single shogunate castle. This thing can actually take out rams. It's a little bit ludicrous, just how good it is. So that's essentially it. When it comes to the fights, I don't think the first ones go our way. He's got a pretty decent mass, but obviously when it comes to replacing those units, we're going to be absolutely fine. So we're going to leave it there. I'm not going to show you every single little bit of the game. If you'd like to go check it out, I mean, you know where to find it. And other than that, we'll catch you guys in the next one. I hope you've enjoyed.